Here's a sample of what you'll hear on today's episode of Holistic Health Matters.
Okay, you've got this diagnosis that we've given it a name, and now we're going to blame that for all of your problems, and then we're going to tame it with medications.
Yeah.
And I just said, this isn't going to work. I actually want people to get well from the ground up on a physical level, a mental level, a spiritual level, all of it. And I recognized that I couldn't do it in the current practice that I was in.
Welcome to the Holistic Health Matters podcast, where it's all about aligning our lives more fully with God's design for spirit, mind, and body so that you can pursue the abundant life more effectively. I'm your host, David Sandstrom, naturopathic doctor and biblical health coach, and this is episode number 31. This episode is part one of a two-part series of a conversation I had with Dr. Lindsay Elmore. She's a PhD in pharmacy and a holistic health coach, and she's got a lot of information to share. She had just tons of value bombs that there was no way I could possibly fit it into a 30-minute episode. So I decided to divide it into two episodes. This will be part one, where we talk primarily about the spiritual and the mental emotional component to health. And then in part two, we talk more about the physical side. So I think you're going to enjoy this conversation, so stick around. This episode is brought to you by Beekeepers Naturals. They're the makers of high-quality honeybee products, including their great-tasting propolis spray, which is a powerful antiviral. I never head to the airport without making sure I have my Beekeepers Naturals propolis throat spray with me. So give your immune system some much-needed support by going to my website, davidsandstrom.com/resources. Click on the Beekeepers Naturals affiliate link. You won't pay any more, and you'll help support the show by using my affiliate partners that share a small commission with me. So let's get started with part one of my conversation with Dr. Lindsay Elmore. Dr. Lindsay has a bachelor's degree in chemistry and a doctorate in pharmacy. She's spoken to audiences on 5 continents in more than 30 countries. She has more than 20 million minutes of education watched online. She helps people take full ownership of their health, from wellness in the physical body to stability in mental health, to robustness of spirit, and freedom in finances. Dr. Lindsay, welcome to Holistic Health Matters.
Thank you so much, David. It's an honor to be here.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to share your wisdom with the audience. So I'm really curious. You were trained in the medical field, and I'm assuming that you worked as a pharmacist for a while.
I did.
And then, and I totally believe in drugs and surgery when they're appropriate. They can save your life, but they really shine in emergencies and acute conditions. And it sounds like you've kind of branched out and broadened your horizons a little bit into the natural and holistic health world. I'd love to know what that transition was like for you.
It was a slow growth where I started when I was in pharmacy school. I tore my ACL my first year of pharmacy school. And when you tear your ACL, they lock your leg out straight so that you end up hiking a hip every time that you take a step. Well, at some point in time, I recognized that I wasn't able to sit squarely on my sit bones. And I end up in the chiropractor's office, and the chiropractor adjusts my hips. I come back into alignment, and I end up telling her at a follow-up appointment, Doc, I haven't slept in about a month, and I'm worried that I may die. I feel so terrible right now. And she said, oh, if you feel terrible, you should head to the acupuncturist. And so I go to the acupuncturist and I have my first acupuncture treatment, and she introduces me to Chinese herbs. And these Chinese herbs opened my horizons, that there were a lot of herbs that in Western culture we didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
And I also started learning from her that the concepts of medicine and the practice of Chinese medicine was very different than the practice of Western medicine, whereby Chinese medicine truly put a value on preventative care. And I thought that was amazing. And I was blessed to be living in California, where I had acupuncture covered by my insurance. So I was
wow, that's unusual.
It was so amazing. I had 12 combined either physical therapy or acupuncture appointments. So for my first year, I had to divide them up because my knee was rehabilitating and I needed physical therapy. But then for the next 3 years while I was in pharmacy school, I was able to go to the acupuncturist once a month and learn from her. And then I was at an integrative health summit and I learned from Connie Grouds, who is a pharmacist who'd also studied plant medicine and botany down in Peru from traditional healers down in Peru. And she asked me one of the most profound questions that has continued to influence me to this day. I sat there with my ACL torn and I was crying and I was telling her about, this injury I'd had and this insomnia that I've been facing. And she stopped me and she said, "Why did you need this injury?" And I stopped in my tracks and I realized in that instance that this was a moment where I could either sit back and woe is me and why did this happen to me and why do good things happen to good people, blah, 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 all that stuff that we tell ourselves when bad things happen. In that moment, when she asked me, "Why did you need this injury?" I understood that this was a moment where I could experience growth, where I could experience this is a step in the journey of life. And so I was one of those wacky pharmacists that knew a lot about herbs, a lot about supplements, and was always trying to get patients off of medications. And eventually, one day I realized that this isn't going to work. It's not going to work with just saying, okay, you've got this diagnosis that we've given it a name, and now we're going to blame that for all of your problems, and then we're going to tame it with medications.
Yeah.
And I just said, this isn't going to work. I actually want people to get well from the ground up on a physical level, a mental level, a spiritual level, all of it. And I recognized that I couldn't do it in the current practice that I was in. So my wheels start to turn. One thing leads to another. I end up getting my first set of essential oils. I know it sounds crazy, but I had an immediate emotional connection with essential oils. And I recognized this is going to be something that I'm going to use and teach about for many, many years to come. And I just kept learning. I kept learning, kept growing. I've recently added functional medicine to my litany of patient care approaches, and also added meditation and exercises and yoga as a part of my process as well. And so all of those have led me to where I am today.
Excellent. I love stories like that, where people were calling you wacky. They thought, this girl's just out there. It must have been a little lonely for you. I'm thinking that was probably a tough time.
Oh, the worst loneliness I ever experienced in my life was when I moved from Alabama to San Francisco, and I had never lived anywhere other than Alabama in my whole life. And I remember I grew up in a Primitive Baptist church and come from a long history of Primitive Baptist people. And I had a wonderful preacher who still keeps in touch with me to this day, even though I haven't lived in the area to go to that church. And I remember calling him one day just in tears, and he said, "Well, this just sounds like good old-fashioned loneliness." So when I faced those moments where I was going through this transition, where I was getting pushback and I was being told, "No, we're not going to teach this," and "No, we're not going to no, we don't want herbal medicine education at major pharmacy conferences." Now I'm still facing that ostracization. Is that the right way to say that?
Yeah, I think so. You got it right.
I'm still facing being an outsider because the functional medicine world doesn't value pharmacists. So even though I've done the functional medicine training, and so eventually I have just come to realize that God gives everyone a path in life, and we have to walk the path laid before us, because if we don't, then we don't live an authentic life and we don't live a fulfilled life. And so if I'm the wacky pharmacist that knows a lot about essential oils and meditates to calm my mind and still my mind every day, and, I think also when you start to add in meditation and yoga, other people start to say, oh, no, that doesn't fit in. And I love what John Maxwell said about meditation and yoga and prayer. And Maxwell says, listen, prayer is when you're talking to God and when you're talking to Jesus and when you're talking to Holy Spirit. But meditation is when you're listening for the answers. And so I found that there has been a lot of controversy in all sides of my life, not just in like, okay, I'm going to practice pharmacy differently, but also in just understanding that everything that is in the light and in the goodness is God. And I love the verse from Isaiah where everyone experiences God differently. You may, in Isaiah 45:6, you may know it from the rising of the sun and from the west, and there is none beside me. I am the Lord, there is none else. I form the light, I create darkness, I make peace, I create evil. I, the Lord, do all of these things. And so when I really got into that mindset of the good things that happen to me should be celebrated, and the bad things that happen to me are not to be blamed on any other higher power. It is an opportunity to grow and become even more spiritual and more faithful. I am keeping going because if God be for us, then who can be against us?
Amen.
Everything that we're experiencing here is a temporary chink that is meant to strengthen our armor. You think about small stressors in our life. You think about when you work out and lift weights, it actually tears your musculature a little bit so that it can become stronger. When you get on a treadmill and do sprints as fast as you can, as if a tiger were coming to eat you, it puts small tears in your cardiovascular musculature, which then allows them to strengthen. And so I think for me, one of the biggest learning lessons is simply surrendering to the journey, because where God will lead you is better than anywhere you could have ever imagined. But you have to trust that you're on the right path, and you have to just say, okay, I'm going to keep walking this path, even though it's difficult, because it is the path laid in front of me.
This episode is brought to you by Beekeepers Naturals. They're the makers of high-quality propolis spray, which is a powerful antiviral, as well as their Bee-Lixer Brain Fuel, which helps with focus and energy without caffeine. So if you're looking to boost immune, brain power, or both, without poisoning your body with toxic chemicals, go to my website, davidsandstrom.com/resources, click on the Beekeepers Naturals logo, and you'll be taken to their website by way of my affiliate link. You won't pay any more for the products, and you'll help support the show by using one of my affiliate partners that share a small commission with me. Now let's get back to the show. I love that. It's a great story. I'd like to back up a little bit and touch on a couple of things that you mentioned. And one was the epiphany you had when you said, you've got this healing that you've got to go through with your knee. And you said, drugs are not going to be the whole answer here. I'm more than a physical body. I have a spirit and I have a mind and I have a mental, emotional component. And I came to that same epiphany. I was a naturopathic doctor, certified nutritional counselor, and I was a health coach and had an office, and I was doing mostly nutritional counseling. I was doing metabolic typing. I'm a certified metabolic typing advisor as well. And it was quite useful, and it helped a lot of people. But I came down with my own set of health challenges, and it turned out to be Lyme disease. I had chronic Lyme disease, and I had chronic fatigue. I had migrating aches and pains. I had brain fog. It was a very difficult time. And I was talking to a guy that was kind of a mentor of mine, and he said, I think you ought to get tested for Lyme. And at first I was in denial. I said, there's no way. But I set the blood off, and yeah, sure enough, I had Lyme disease. So I did my research, and the traditional treatment for Lyme is high dose antibiotics for a year or more.
Oh, yeah.
And I knew with my background that was just going to rip my gut apart. Then I had to have introduce a whole another problem with a gut that's completely out of whack with the microbiome. So I said, I don't want to go that route. So I set out to learn everything I could about the spiritual component to health and the mental emotional component to health. And that education it absolutely blew me away. And I implemented those principles in my own life, especially the spiritual principles. And I beat Lyme disease without any medication, no medical intervention. And it's behind me now. And I wrote a book on it. My book is called The Christian's Guide to Holistic Health. And it was very transformative. And God didn't waste that pain, because there's a book now, there's a podcast that people can listen to. And I've got a message that really people need to hear. And so do you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that kind acknowledgement.
Yeah. One more thing I wanted to touch on that you just said. Oh, by the way, I used to go to a church down in South Florida. John Maxwell was one of the assistant pastors. So he's a guest pastor that came in once in a while. So, people would pay to listen to this guy speak. And he used to come to our church and just preach once in a while. So it's pretty cool. He's a great guy. I love his stuff, his books. He's great.
I do too. I find him very inspirational. And talk about a guy that faced criticism. You know, when he left being a preacher to become an entrepreneur and a teacher, people were just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And he just stayed with it and said, well, this is the path laid before me and I have to walk it.
And he's probably reached millions of more people because of his writing. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely. He followed God's lead. And one last thing I wanted to touch on, because you said so many great things there.
Thank you.
But one of the points you made was surrendering to God's goodness. Even though the path he has for you might be challenging and you might be experiencing some pruning, it's better to just surrender to that, because he loves us more than we can fathom. Right. And he knows the future. And he made us. So when you come to that understanding, which is what the understanding I came to when I was dealing with this Lyme disease thing, is that when God gives us an instruction, it's for our benefit. And he gives us a prohibition, it's for our protection. So once you come to that understanding, the Bible just becomes a plethora of health advice. It's amazing how the scripture just comes alive. It's like, wow, there's health and wellness all over the Bible. But people don't see it, and that's part of the message. And that's part of the reason why I wrote the book. But anyway, I'm going. I want to hear more about your story.
Well, I tell you, just to add on to what you just said, my aunt, my great aunt, when I was a child, always said, never pray for patience, because if you pray for patience, you're going to get lots that try your patience, and you're just like, and you think about how even in trials of affliction, we can experience great abundance and joy and great riches even through the trial. And so, you think about what it says in Peter, that the trial of your faith is more precious than gold, which perisheth. And if you can just stick to like, all right, well, here we go. It's why we're here on earth. We are imperfect human beings. I heard something this morning on a podcast about a particular religion, which doesn't have to be named because I don't want to call any religion out, but it said that one of the tenets of their religion was that here on earth, you aspire to become perfect. Well, that was always very counter to what I was taught as growing up, because one of the tenets of the primitive Baptist faith is that we are flawed human beings and that we will never attain perfection because the only perfection is within God.
Right.
And I just thought, what a burden that would have been to grow up under this assumption that if you're good enough and do the right things, that eventually you become perfect, because you'll never achieve it.
Right.
And I find much greater care in the understanding of like, I am going through trials of affliction, but abundance and joy and riches can be there if I focus on the trial of my faith, which is more precious than gold, which perisheth. And so we may go through fires, but eventually, if we stay on the road, we are found under the glory of God.
Yeah, I tell people that we will never regret doing things God's way. Just one of the verses that I learned when I was doing my study, when I was searching the scriptures for what it said about health, is Proverbs 3, 7, and 8. Fear the Lord, depart from evil. It will be healing to your body and strength to your bones. So there's a clear connection between our spiritual condition and our physical vitality.
And I think it's also I think you can also extend that to mental and emotional health and physical health as well, because it's like, well, nobody ever regrets being like, God, I really hate that I ate so healthfully yesterday. I really regret that exercise that I did. I really regret those moments that I spent in quiet reflection upon the beauty of a sunset. Those things are powerful. And
Absolutely.
I'm a huge proponent of one thing at a time. If you're sitting here listening to this podcast and you're like, oh man, I have diabetes, I'm overweight, I have conflict in my home, I don't know where to start. Start so small that failure is not even an option. So don't make it about like, I'm going to drink a gallon of water today and I'm going to run 30 minutes and I'm going to get rid of my diabetes within 3 months. How about you drink one glass of water, or maybe you do one push-up,
Yeah.
Start so small that you can't fail. And if you're somebody who struggles with their faith, because I think everybody struggles with their faith, at least through certain portions of their life. I know one thing that was so powerful for me is I would always focus on the things that gave me great comfort and gave me a greater sense of I'm not alone in this world. I'm not alone and I don't have to be. And I can actively seek to see God in the health and wellness journeys of other people. I can actively seek to see goodness in people as I come into contact with them throughout the day. And I think it opens up our empathy for our fellow man, and it puts us into that servant's heart, which is so important. And I think one of the things that has been just devastating to medicine and to pharmacy is people don't think they're servants. They think that their patients are there for a one-off. I'm here to pick up my pills, or I'm here for my 10-minute appointment, or even I'm willing to bet, even in the practice of traditional Chinese medicine or in chiropractor, it's just one more adjustment. It's just one more patient to see. But I learned from Rachel Remen, who wrote several wonderful books in called Kitchen Table Wisdom and My Grandfather's Blessings. And she instilled in me back when I was in pharmacy school, always remember that patient is a person who is worthy of dignity, of love, of being able to trust the practitioners around them. That patient is someone's mother, someone's father, someone's child. This patient is more than a diagnosis. And I think that has been a powerful lesson for me that has completely transformed my thinking. Because in pharmacy school, your patient comes in and you have a list of disease states and a list of medications and a list of vital signs and a list of this. But nobody actually sits down and says, tell me your whole life story from the beginning to the end of all of your health.
Well, that's a really good point. And as I'm trained as a naturopath, and the difference between naturopathy and allopathy, which is what most MDs practice, is that an MD treats the illness that has the person.
Yes.
A naturopath treats the person that has the illness. And that's a very different approach. A nurse might say, yeah, we have the gallbladder in room 214. Well, no, that's not a gallbladder. That is a human being in there.
Yes, there is a TikTok feed that I follow, and it's a physician, and he talks about like when specialties talk to one another, and none of these specialties take a step back and say, well, Mr. Jones in bed 5 has this overall collective going on. And they also, when you talk about, we're talking about bed 6, right? We're talking about bed 7, right? It's dehumanizing.
Yes.
And when you dehumanize others, it makes you less empathetic to those around you who are in need of your care.
Yeah.
And it's so important. In Jeremiah, we get the question like, is there no balm in Gilead? Like, why has the health of my people not recovered? Like, where are the healers? And medicine has lost, and pharmacy has lost, and in many ways, nursing has also lost these critical importance of the laying on of hands. I was raised in a church where we washed feet. And you want to talk about a humbling moment is when you recognize that we do this in remembrance of me. We do this because it reminds us that Jesus came to earth as a servant to us. And Jesus was a master of putting people at ease, in putting some people at ease, and putting people who felt like they had no one else to rely on in a position where they regained their dignity, where they regained that capacity to love themselves. And that is what I wish the modern practice of medicine was more about, because it's so unfortunate. Many physicians are nothing more than paper pushers. They're pushing paper from one place to another, and they're not given time to take a moment to truly experience the entire litany of joyfulness and peace, as well as the grief and death that comes with the practice of medicine.
Yeah, that's really good. And, it basically, you're speaking to the idea of the way we practice medicine here in the U.S. And it's about the drugs, it's about the surgery. It's about the money a lot of the times. I hate to say this, but, oncologists make a lot of money. They're able to prescribe very, very expensive medications and administer those medications in their office. And, I hate to say this, but, I think they know their patients are going to die. But that's a source of revenue.
Who doesn't make a lot of money? Organic farmers.
That's right.
Organic farmers don't make enough money. And it is next to impossible in this country in this day and age to actually even have an organic farm, because the environmental policies of our country have allowed for the introduction of so many toxicities and introduced them oftentimes in underprivileged neighborhoods. So now you've got a group of people living in an area that is either marginalized, poverty-stricken, And these are the people that need help and mercy the most. And instead, we dump toxins into the environment. We introduce grocery stores that are full of nothing other than food-like products. We don't have adequate access to preventative care. And our medical system is not built to value health. It is built to value sickness. I mean, you mentioned oncologists, but goodness, are infectious disease companies not making a ton of money this year on the backs of the pain and suffering of the many? And that to me is just...
Well, you know, we could talk about this for a while, but I heard a story last night that there are people that slept in their cars last night to get in line to get a COVID-19 vaccine. And I think there's a better approach, but that's probably best saved for another episode.
That's a very long discussion that we could spend hours talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I think that's a good place to hit the pause button. In the second half of this conversation, I asked Dr. Lindsay about her recommendations for healthy eating and supplementation, and she's got a lot to share. Would have been way too much to keep in this single episode. So thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that first half of the conversation. It only gets better from here. Dr. Lindsay's just getting warmed up. So I'm looking forward to talking with you next week. Be blessed.